If you're thinking of quitting your 9 to 5 to start a business, then you need to know one thing up front. Work-life balance, it's a lie. And if you want to be successful, then you really need to hear this. I'm going to show you the 5 truths about work-life balance and how to build a life that actually works for you without burnout, without guilt, and without losing yourself in the process. And sure, you might get the car, the holiday, the dream house, but it's going to cost you more than money. It's going to cost you your time, your health, and most of all, your mind. Because as a business owner, your brain doesn't switch off. You're constantly thinking about cash flow, about strategy, about deadlines, survival, and then growth. And despite what social media sells you, there's no such thing as balance when you're running a business, okay? And this is the side of entrepreneurship that no one really glamorizes. So if you've been searching like how to escape the 9 to 5 or entrepreneur burnout or real work-life balance tips or something like that, then you've come to the right place. My name is Richard Gerritsen-Cornell, and this channel is dedicated to helping people create their own destinies. I've been in business for 30 years, helping brands sell more of their products and services, but most importantly, I will show you how to cope and succeed in your business journey whilst enjoying it along the way. So let's get into it. Now, let's talk about work-life balance and what it really looks like and how to create it without losing yourself in the process, yeah? I started a business for freedom, but I have less of it. Now, you know what's funny? We all start our businesses, right? Chasing freedom. Freedom with time, freedom with cash, freedom to choose our days. But then reality sets in. You soon realize that you just swapped one job for 3. You're not just a CEO now, you're admin, you're marketing, tech support, sales, HR, and even legal. And that's on a good day. And I did it myself. I left a 9 to 5 to start my agency 30 years ago to be in control of my own destiny and have a business that ran without me. The irony is, 30 years later, I do control my own destiny and my business operates without me. But how I said operates, this means that yes, my business can operate because I have a substantial team, right, who does the work. And in reality, I wouldn't need to work more than an hour or so a day. But my brain never clocks off. And while my team sleeps, I'm worrying about cash flow, client retention, staffing, strategy, and I'm constantly thinking on how to improve and grow my business. So that freedom that you imagine, it becomes a full-time job in itself. And even though I make great money, I have everything I ever dreamed of, in reality, I lost my freedom of the mind. And this is something that people don't see or don't think about before they go into business. And work-life balance as an entrepreneur, it's a lie, right? It's a myth. It's a 24/7 hustle. And if you're not hustling, then you're just going to be average like the majority of small businesses out there. So if you want to have a successful business, then you need to know this now. So the real question shouldn't be, how can I have a life, of freedom? It should be, how can I create more freedom of the mind? But we can talk about that a little bit later. My business runs without me, but I feel empty. Now, I never thought that would happen to me, right? I built a brand that makes money with me not doing as much as I used to in the early days, and that was my goal from day one, right? But when I finally reached it, I lost motivation. I started questioning everything. I felt like I had nothing left to offer. I lost interest, and weirdly, what I thought was my greatest achievement actually became my Achilles heel. I thought the whole point of growth was to be free. But what does freedom actually mean? And if this is what freedom looked like, I probably would have just kept a small business, no staff, worked my own hours, and made great money without all the stress that comes with growth. What I realized was this. I was mistaking my spare time for freedom. And real freedom should be used to learn more, to create more, to do more and grow in a way that not only fulfills you, but also enables you to be more successful than you were yesterday. And I suppose I started taking it for granted, and that took me a while to figure it out, that success doesn't equal fulfillment, right? I can't switch off, even when I'm not working. You know what really messes with your head? Not being able to switch off, even when you're not working. And you might not be at your desk physically working, right? But your mind's still working. And how do I disconnect from work? How can I stop this brain chatter? And why do I get more anxious and the more successful that I get? Well, these are the questions I started asking myself and the ones most business owners avoid until it's too late and they burn out. And even when I wasn't working, like actively working, I should say, at dinner, when I'm on holidays, in the shower, it never stops because business ownership blurs every boundary, especially if you're chasing growth, stability, or that next opportunity. You think balance is just about hours. It's not. It's about mental space. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. You can be sitting on a beach and still feel completely trapped if your mind doesn't know how to let go, right? And we all want realistic work-life balance. But let me tell you, balance isn't possible if your brain never gets a break. And in the early stages of a business, or even in years in, right? It's hard to feel safe enough to slow down. And there's always more to do. There's always something that could fall apart without you. And that survival mindset makes rest feel like a risk. But unless you fix that, you'll never actually feel free, even when you've technically made it. And for me, this has probably been my biggest ongoing challenge throughout my business journey. But I've learned techniques along the way to slow the chatter down, like by meditating or getting a good night's sleep, and exercising is a big one, right? Do that regularly. But this is still a work in progress, and it's something every entrepreneur must tackle head on, so to speak. So if they want to stay sane with the whole journey, right? Now, before we get into the next part of this video, I'd like to stop for a minute just to ask you for a very small favor. My channel is only new, and I'm on a mission to help not just business owners sell more of their products and services, but people who want a better life for themselves. And if you feel that my content is helpful in any way, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe to my channel. And in doing so, you'll be letting me know which content you'd like to see more of. You know, whether it's on mindset techniques or marketing and sales or business fundamentals. And I promise you that I will deliver you videos that will help you in your journey. So thanks for taking the time. Now let's get back into the video. I feel guilty when I'm not working. Let me tell you something most business owners won't admit. I used to feel guilty every time I wasn't doing something productive. And honestly, some days I still do. It doesn't matter if it's the weekend or a holiday, or even if I've ticked off everything on my list. If I wasn't working on the next thing, I felt lazy, you know? We're constantly trying to justify taking a break because deep down we've tied our self-worth to output. And when your identity is built around performance and achievement, rest doesn't feel rewarding. It actually feels uncomfortable. Doing nothing, right? That's not relaxing, it's confronting. And honestly, it's like my worst nightmare. And I can't explain it properly because unless you've felt it, people just don't get it. You know, I'd sit on the couch and feel restless, right? Not because I had something urgent to do, but because I didn't feel like I'd earned the right to stop. And that's the real problem, right? We're conditioned to keep going because pausing, it just feels like we're falling behind. But if you're not careful, that mindset, it's going to ruin you. It turns every quiet moment into a guilt trip, and eventually it's going to burn you out. And not from overworking, but from never letting yourself pause. That said, when my kids were born many years ago, right, I did learn to slow down, all right? At least in the moments that mattered most. I gave myself permission to be present, to enjoy watching them grow, to be there every step of the way. I learned to save the brain chatter for when they were asleep. And I guess I never completely changed, but I was very mindful that my real freedom, it wasn't just about business success. It was about not missing out on the little things, and that gives me peace. And that's my version of balance. So if you feel like resting is slackening off, then trust me, I get it. But here's the truth. If you can't learn to stop, you just won't be able to keep going. The fear of falling behind and becoming average. Now here's something I've battled with my entire career, right? And I know I'm not the only one. If I don't push harder, someone else will. And that's the thought that used to drive me every single day. Even when I wanted to slow down, my brain, it just wouldn't let me, right? Because deep down, I believed that taking my foot off the gas, it meant someone else would overtake me. And once you start building momentum in business, you feel like you've got to protect it at all costs, right? And I've even looked into this, and apparently they have a name for it, right? It's called entrepreneur anxiety, and that constant tension, right? That if you rest, relax, you know, or take your eyes off the prize just for a second, someone hungrier, younger, and faster is coming for your spot. And here's the thing, that fear doesn't go away just because you're successful. If anything, it gets much louder because once you've built something that works, something that you're proud of, then the fear is losing it, right? It becomes a whole new kind of pressure. But for me, it wasn't just about being overworked. I was scared that everything would fall apart if I rested and got comfortable with my business, right? And when you're wired like that, balance, it just feels like a risk. Like you're letting go, right, of your edge that got you there in the first place. But here's what I've come to realize over time. Running yourself into the ground, it won't save your business. It'll just make you super exhausted. And that's how you burn out and still feel like, you know, you're not doing enough, right? But balance isn't about slowing down. It's about choosing what actually moves the needle. Because being successful, it isn't about going 100 miles an hour. It's about doing what matters intentionally and with purpose. What you really need to know before you quit. So after everything I've just said, you might be thinking, well, should I even bother starting a business? And my answer is absolutely yes, right? But only if you're clear on why you're doing it. Not just to escape your job, right? And not just to chase freedom, but because you're prepared to build something that actually means something to you, okay? Because business isn't going to save you from burnout. It won't automatically give you balance, and it definitely won't give you freedom unless you design it in a way from the very beginning that suits you. But if you go in with your eyes wide open, if you're willing to play the long game, if you define success, right, on your terms instead of chasing what everyone else is doing, then business can absolutely change your life for better, right? It can give you much more control, it can give you more impact, it can give you more purpose than any job ever would. And it will let you build your own version of freedom, but on your terms, right? But don't expect it to happen overnight, and don't expect it to be easy. Be intentional, protect your energy, and build a business around your life, not the other way around. And this means keeping a healthy routine with purpose, you know, that can help with the brain chatter. And remember, you're still going to have hard days. You'll still question yourself. you'll still feel like giving up sometimes. But if what you're building matters, what really matters, then those moments, they won't break you. They will shape you. So if you're ready to leave your 9 to 5 behind to start your own business, just make sure you're doing it with clarity and not fantasy. Because once you know the truth about work-life balance, you can stop chasing that perfect version of freedom, right? And start building the kind that actually works much better for you. Now this wraps up my video today. Comment below if you're thinking of quitting your 9 to 5 to start a business, or if you would like to reshape your version of what your work-life balance, would be, as I'd love to read it. And if you want to learn more about how to redefine your 9 to 5, then be sure to watch some other videos in this series. They're really going to help you. And please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, as I have a heap more coming. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.